Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to answer all the questions that I got under my video about my travel in Norway. If you haven't seen it, I will link in the description box down below. And I'm really happy that a lot of you found the video helpful. Thank you for 10,000 views. It means a lot to me. Thank you also for all your kind comments and for all your questions. So I'm here to answer all of those questions in a more detailed way, because if you would like to have a quick answer, just leave a comment on that video and I will be happy to answer you. But I thought it could be interesting to just give some more detailed answers to your questions about my travel in Norway. So if you haven't seen that video, I traveled in Norway last summer. So I traveled the last week of July 2021, and I did a solo travel. So I went by myself for 1 week, and I started my travel in Oslo and arrived in Bergen, and I only used public transport, so ferries, trains and buses. So if you're curious to know more about my travel, keep watching and let's get to the questions. Question number 1 is it safe for a girl to travel alone in Norway? The answer is yes. I was a bit concerned about traveling alone because I've never did something like that. I mean, I already traveled alone, but I never took a backpack with me and said, okay, let's go and travel a country for a week. And that was the first experience for me, and I felt completely safe, like much more safe than I feel when I am in Italy, unfortunately. But it was completely safe, like no one else tried to approach me, talk to me, never something like that, never happened. And for example, when I stayed in Oslo, I had rent a house with Airbnb, and I was in a house with a really sweet girl. And she lived near the central station, but the neighborhood was really quiet and extremely safe. I had zero problems in Oslo, even though I was near the central station, which, like for example in Rome, it's not the safest place of the city. So yes, I would say that my experience as a solo girl in Norway was completely positive, and I encourage you to do this experience on your own if you feel like you would like to do that. So do that, and do not feel pressured about being alone. Then, second question, is the Viking ship museum open? Unfortunately, no, it's closed. When I went to Oslo last year, I was able to visit the Viking ship museum, but only 3 rooms were open out of 4. So there was a 4th room that I couldn't visit, and I checked on Google. But now the museum is closed to public, and it will be closed for the next 4 years. So it will open again. I think they will change location, and it will open again in 2026. So it's quite a lot of time. So if you go to Oslo now, you won't be able to visit the Viking ship museum, but you will be able to visit the new monk museum that I couldn't visit when I went there because it was closed. And I think it opened in October or November 2021. So if you go to Oslo, I think that's a must museum to visit. So question number 3 was what was the weather like? The weather in Norway changed really fast. I remember when I was in Oslo the first day, I checked the weather forecast on my phone, and I saw that it would have been sunny. So I just left my umbrella at home. That was a big mistake, because after 1 hour, when I was working on the downtown, it started pouring rain. So I had to run back home, and I also got lost in metro. But that's a story for another time, maybe, if you want to hear that. And so I got to get back home, take an umbrella and take a jacket because it started being a bit cold, and I had to take a jacket with me. So be prepared because weather changes really quickly, but it's quite hot. I mean, when I traveled it was summer, and it was the last week of July. It was summer, and it was hot. I think temperatures were like between 15 at night, 25 degrees during the day. So you can expect a warm summer if you go to Norway at the end of July. Question number 4. What clothes should I bring? Okay, so I traveled for 1 week and I brought with me a 40 liters backpack, and I brought clothes both for hiking and for going to the city. I recommend taking with you a raincoat because, as I said, it can start raining at any time, and Norwegians don't use umbrellas. So, for example, in Oslo, I was the only one with an umbrella. Bring a raincoat. I had 2 pairs of shoes with me, one pair of sneakers that I used in Bergen and in Oslo, and 1 pair of hiking shoes. What else? I brought an hoodie for the evening, 2 pairs of comfortable trousers and 2 pairs of jeans, this for 1 week, and a lot of t-shirts to use during the day. And I also recommend bringing a warmer jacket if you go to Bergen, because I found Bergen really windy. When I was there it was sunny, but it was windy. So a warmer jacket is definitely useful if you go to Bergen. Otherwise I never used it. I used it only in Bergen. What else? Question number 5. Money. How much did you spend? I spent quite a lot of money, so don't expect this to be a cheap travel, because if you travel alone you will spend inevitably more than if you travel with other people, because you have to pay for the night stays. You have to pay all on your own, and so I spent quite a lot, but it was really an amazing experience and I would do that again. Talking about prices, I spent an average of 850 euros for 1 week, and this includes 150 euros for trains and buses, 450 euros for overnight stays. That's what I was talking about, quite expensive, because I had to pay, for example, a room for 2 people or for 4 people all by myself. 120 euros for the Trolltunga hike, which is quite a lot, but I found it really helpful to go with a guide to the Trolltunga, because the hike is 20 kilometers long. You can get tired, and maybe you can also get bad weather. So if you have never been there, just make sure you go with a guide, because the experience will be much more relaxed. And another 100 and 100 or 150 euros for food and extras. I haven't included the cost of the plane to get there. Question number 6. How much does public transport cost? Public transport is much more expensive than it is in Rome, for example, but it's extremely efficient. So in 1 week I never had delays. So the bus cost 5 or 6 euros for a ticket, and the ticket lasts 2 hours. If you want to know more about tickets, bus tickets, train tickets, you can check the description box of my first video about Norway, and there I listed all useful links and apps where you can purchase your tickets, and where also you can organize your trip. The bus is 5 or 6 euros for a ticket that lasts 2 hours, and you can buy the ticket directly from the app. So this is an important thing to know. If you go to Norway, you will need a fast connection on your phone, because all transactions are made by apps or by internet. So when you go to on the bus, you can't buy the ticket with cash from the driver, for example. You will need to buy it from your phone. Be prepared to pay everything with your phone or with your credit card. I took the train from Oslo to Flam, and it cost me 100 euros. But the railway is one of the most beautiful in the world, and the train route lasts 6 hours. So I don't think this is extremely high cost. When I went from Oslo to Flam, I had a connection, so I traveled Oslo Myrdal, and then I took the famous Flam railway from Myrdal to Flam, and that lasts 40 minutes. And the route is really scenographic, and you also make a couple of stops to see some waterfalls, and that's really worth it. And what else? I can't remember exactly the price of the ferry, but I think it cost like a bus ticket, but I'm not sure about that, so you will need to check on the website. And at last, the Orland Gardbangen cruise cost me about 40 euros. That's a bit expensive, yes, but it was one of the best things that I did on my travel. So I really recommend doing short cruise in fjords, because that can really change your perspective of fjords and of nature in Norway. So that's it about public transport. Question number 7. Public transport or public car? What do I choose? It all depends on the type of travel you want to do. For example, I stayed half of the time in cities and half of the time in nature doing hikes. So for me, public transport was the right choice. Also because a private car, if you go on your own, it's extremely expensive, and I couldn't even think of pay for something like that. So if you're going solo, if you split your time between Bergen, Oslo, and you do some hikes, I recommend taking the public transport because it's really cheap. What else? Otherwise, if you prefer spending more time in nature, if you prefer going to do hikes other than staying in cities, maybe the best choice is to take a car. That's because with a car you can easily get to the starting points of the trails, while with public transport that's not always possible. Like for example, I couldn't get to Stegastein viewpoint because I stayed in Flam only one night, so I spent like half a day in Flam and in Orland, and the bus that could have took me to Stegastein viewpoint already traveled that day, so I wasn't able to get there. And I know that Stegastein viewpoint is a really good place to go and a really good attraction for tourists. So that was a bit sad that I couldn't go there. So if you're planning a trip with a lot of hikes, I recommend going with a car, so you can move at your own pace. You can go wherever you want, whatever time you need. Question number 8. How many days should I spend in Flam or in Orland? Okay, I spent only one night in Orland in a beautiful camping. If you want to know the name, because I can remember it, if you want to know the name, you can always check the description box of my previous video about Norway. And I spent only one night there, but that was a pity because the place was beautiful. Really the most beautiful place I ever been, I think, in my entire life. It was so peaceful, so calm, and the landscape was breathtaking. So if I could go back, I would stay another day there. Yes, definitely. So I recommend staying another day, and I also recommend going to the Stagastein viewpoint if you have time. Question number 9. Trolltunga, alone or with a guide, and is the path marked? I went with a guide because I usually don't hike, so I'm not used to long hikings, and I wanted to be safe, and I wanted to be sure that everything went smooth and that I could enjoy my day at Trolltunga, and I did, thanks to my guide. I booked the guide on a website called Trolltunga Active, but you can find also other agencies if you want. It's expensive, yes. I spent 120 euros, quite expensive, but the hike is also really long, so it takes you 12 hours to start, go to Trolltunga and go back. You can get bad weather, you never know what can happen. So if you go alone, you need to be expert. Yes, I think you need to be an expert hiker. Not because the path is really difficult, like there's a steep hill at the beginning of the path, but after that it's more or less all plateau. But as I said, the path is long, 20 kilometers, so you need to be prepared. So in my opinion, if you've never been there, if you're not an expert hiker, please take a guide so you can fully enjoy your day at Trolltunga. Question number 10, cash or credit card? I recommend change some cash because it can always be useful. For example, I found really useful to have some coins when I went to campings to pay the shower. Also because when you go to campings, maybe you can arrive late in the evening, late in the afternoon, and the reception might be already closed. So if you have no one to talk to, you can change cash, and that might be a problem. So definitely change some cash, but keep in mind that credit card is the most useful method of payments used. So everyone pays by credit card. In restaurants, in shops, you pay by credit card on your phone for bus tickets, train tickets. So they are very smart. So cash might be useful only in a determined situation, specific situation, but otherwise be sure to have a credit card and a good internet connection on your phone. Okay, so we got to the last question, which is, did you stay in hotels or in hostels? Okay, in Oslo and in Bergen, so in the cities, I stayed in houses with Airbnb, and I saved a bit of money with this choice. And in addition, it was really nice to meet people that live in Norway, just to have a chat and also to know more about their culture. They also gave me some tips on what to do, what to visit, where to go. So it can be really good to save money and to know people that live there. If you go alone, it's really nice to have a chat with Norwegians. So I stayed in Airbnb houses when I was in Oslo and in Bergen. While when I was in Flam and at Trolltunga, I stayed in campings that are not campings. Like if I think of a camping, I think of a tent in the middle of nowhere, but it's not like that in Norway. So I had my bungalow, and I had the shared kitchen and the shared toilets and showers. So I had my private bedroom. That was all for today. I hope I answered all of your questions. So if you want to know more about my travel in Norway, you can leave some questions under this video or under my previous video. Go check all the links that I left on my previous video about Norway, and let me know if you have other questions. if you want me to tell you other tips about my travel, and that's it. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.